me get streaming over there live. Make sure that kicks on YouTube real fast. There it is. Yeah, it's far better quality.
You still posting to Rumble?
Yeah. In fact, I posted last night's 3 videos up on Rumble. I recorded them as each individual hour.
All right.
So I'm going to have, I got a graphic team that's going to build me a really cool intro, like the Armed American Radio logo, both logos in 3 dimensions, spinning around and busting through coming up out of the stone earth or something shit like that.
All right.
And I'll put that at the beginning of each of the individual hours and probably cut. Although I kind of like the live breaks. People can fast forward. All they got to do is drag the cursor and move. But I like the raw feed during the breaks. A lot of people like listening to that stuff.
All right.
So I may not edit that. I may just keep it in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying.
Know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying?
Hey, let me read you that text message from Patricia Huff again last night, just because.
All right.
Here it is. I like Greg better than the old guy. I like Greg better than the old guy. Oh, please. Shit.
Well, we won't say that too loud.
No. Please don't. I just thought that was funny when she said that yesterday because, first of all, she knows his name. It's like, Patricia, come on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Poor Shanto.
I need to know this URL. How do I get this URL?
For
this stream that I can put it over at Facebook. How do I get this?
Is there a share option and you just copy link?
It looks like there's a share. Mark Walters live
I think
stream,
you can
Facebook.
also set up a
video link.
Video
link. Wait, here's the video link.
There you go. There you go.
Here's the video link. Let me copy that video link and get that up on Facebook, right? Create post.
I think you can also set up events for you to go live at a certain time. That way people can start congregating in the lobby waiting for the show to go live. And then once it goes live, they're there and it's they're there immediately.
Well, they can watch the live stream on Facebook. I don't want them to do that. I want them to subscribe at YouTube.
Any guests today?
Yeah, Andy Hoosier's going to be calling in.
All right.
Let me know when you got him.
All right.
don't see anybody in here.
There's Andy. Hold on.
All right.
On hold. Tell you what, I've been watching the Fulton County Board of Elections committee meeting on YouTube, and the director, Barron, is a moron.
Yeah, there's a lot happening there.
They're trying to dispute the illegality of the ballots that came out from underneath the table. He's trying to make excuses for it, saying one thing or another. And then there's obviously questions being raised, and then the counts were off in certain instances, and other people are raising objections to that, and he's trying to finagle a description that will make it sound better, and it's a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a mess over there, believe me.
Ugh.
Those of you who are on the new YouTube feed, please make sure to get out on your posts that we've moved this over to YouTube. The connection is much stronger. The latency is virtually none. The video quality is far greater. And we don't like Facebook. They don't like us. We can do a lot more with YouTube as we experiment, because we're going to be putting a player on the new website, guys. So you'll be able to watch this live on the website and other formats as well. What do we got on time?
20 seconds. Five.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to. That's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the Gunbroker.com studios on the Car Arms Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome inside Armed American Radio's Gunbroker.com studios on the Car Arms Platinum microphone with you today. All of this being presented to you across the country and from the Armed American Radio Video Network studios, of course, by X Insurance, a real company that gives you real insurance for your real life. Stop playing games with the gimmicky stuff and get real insurance and cover your life for real, just like I did. Believe me, I sleep a lot better at night. Last night's Monster Cast, the Sunday night broadcast, was another good one, just solid as a rock. Alan Gottlieb, in the first two segments, we heard from Alan about his concerns about where we are with the state of Georgia. We spent the better part of the first segment talking about that, of course. And as we were on the air live, Kelly Loeffler and Warnock were going toe-to-toe. Look, here's my assessment. I did watch it this morning. I am not a big fan of Loeffler's. She has my vote, obviously. She has voted in lockstep with Trump. But there's a lot happening there. She's not a polished speaker. She's got some issues that the left is able to exploit relative to, and I was hard on her. I was hard on her back when the coronavirus meeting occurred in January, and it was found out that her and her husband, who owns the New York Stock Exchange, by the way, made some apparent moves that made them a ton of money. And I was very honest with it, and I'll say it now. She sent me a request for a donation, and I sent it back saying, no, use some of the funds that you got from your meeting. But Loeffler has my vote, and she has been cleared of all of that. And I make that statement because transparency, I said it in the past. I'm not a huge fan of hers. I would have rather seen Doug Collins come in, but Loeffler has to have our vote right now. She's got to have our vote. The Republican in office has to maintain that seat. It's that simple. Warnock, this guy's very polished speaker. He reminds me of a former president that can talk a big game, but he's a bald-faced liar. The pastor's a liar? Yeah, he is. He wouldn't even answer the questions yesterday about his radical positions in his agenda, defunding the police, etc. All of that was happening while we were live on the air last night. But my assessment after watching it today, if you're going to vote Republican, nothing changed your mind. If you're going to vote Democrat, if you're an ideologue, nothing changed your mind. If you were middle of the road, you're probably still middle of the road at this point in time. And what I would ask you, if you are middle of the road here in the state of Georgia, is get off your duff, save your country, save the rest of the nation, save your gun rights, and vote for Loeffler. Warnock wants him. So does Ossoff. Bald-faced lies. And in the meantime, he played a game talking with an empty podium because David Perdue refused to step up there. Now, I don't know. Look, I'm going to say this. I don't know if that was a smart move on Perdue's part or not. I could argue that both ways. The attacks that Perdue is under in the state of Georgia right now, if I were Perdue, I would have been out there destroying every one of those attacks against me. I'm not sure that played well. But then again, if you're a Republican, there ain't no way in hell you're voting for Jon Ossoff, that goofball. It's not going to happen in this lifetime. So did he hurt himself? Don't know. That remains to be seen. He is up 87,000 votes in the November 3rd election, so we're going to hope that he keeps that. Dynamite program last night. We missed talking about that, so I want to just give you that quick rundown. We'll talk with Andy Hoosier about that in just a moment. And then, of course, Patricia Huff from gunbroker.com. Charles Heller from Liberty Watch Radio stayed with me for the entire second hour. Why? Because Charles Heller was the subject of a flat-out bald-faced lie from the media out there at the Arizona Daily Star, making up statements that he said. We call them out on it because it was about suicide and gun rights. You can go back and listen to that hour, Armed American Radio's Monster Cast, Hour 2, the Sunday broadcast yesterday, and, of course, a classic roundtable. The conversations in the roundtable are getting more and more provocative every week, and I have a feeling that is destined to continue. So make sure to go back and listen to it. Those of you who might be listening to the show now that would normally be watching the live stream because you can't find it on Facebook, YouTube today. We are live on YouTube. Make sure to go over to YouTube, subscribe to Mark Walters, watch a better audio feed, a better video feed, higher definition, and enjoy it over on YouTube. We're experimenting with a lot of things as we grow because we're going to be embedding it into the new website. You will be able to watch live, hopefully, on the website via the YouTube platform. And, of course, these videos will be uploaded to Rumble as soon as the show closes out. So make sure to subscribe to Mark Walters on YouTube, not the little goofy soccer guy, but Armed American Radio. You'll see me when you get over to YouTube. Subscribe to Mark Walters. And then on the other side of it, make sure to subscribe to Armed American Radio on Rumble. Make sure to do that as well. Make sure to share everything as we continue to explode. And let's not forget that all of this, again, is being presented by X Insurance. We love them over there. Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason. How the heck are you, brother?
Mark Walters, it's so good to be with you, my friend. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday to you. Let's not forget what day it is. It's my friend Tyrone Duncan's birthday, and it happens to be, I haven't seen Ty in 20 years, but we talk at least once a year on his birthday. His birthday is December 7th, and I just wished him, Ty, if you're listening, you and Bridget and the kids, I hope everybody's safe. Happy birthday to you, brother. But today is a day that will live in infamy. And not ironic, the irony of this is not lost on me, Andy. Today is also the last day to register to vote in the state of Georgia if you, for some bizarre reason, aren't because of the November. I mean, anybody who's registered was registered for November 3rd, I would guess, except the Democrats are trying to get everybody out there, maybe the dead people and maybe the actors that are moving out here. I don't know, but it's a weird day in that respect because it's also the last day to vote for the January 5th runoff, Andy.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned, I don't know who else isn't registered to vote after a major presidential election that just happened a month ago. And is it really going to change the outcome? I mean, when you go and vote in January for the runoff in Georgia, I mean, you would expect the results to be semi-similar to what you saw in the first one, wouldn't you? I mean, with so many people that were excited to show up for a presidential race and a Senate race, both Senate races in the state of Georgia, and then it's a close tie, so they all show up again. The people that were uninterested then are probably going to be relatively uninterested now. So I don't see a whole lot of change in voter turnout. The only thing that maybe we can catch that would be an example of the voter fraud would be if they try to rig it again to make it look identical to the last election, just because they don't want the numbers to be completely off from what they had the first time, and we catch them in the act. So maybe there's an opportunity for us there. But outside of that, who hasn't voted the first time that's not going to vote again the second time? I mean, all the power to you guys in Georgia. I mean, you're right in the middle of it, so it's kind of fun sitting there watching it. But I don't know why they think all of a sudden they're going to win over somebody that they weren't going to win over the first time.
Oh, boy, there's a whole hour there. Actually, there's probably 2 hours there. And my production crew down in Dallas can't provide us that extra hour today, Andy. So thanks a lot for that, okay?
I do what I can.
You just did. Let's start with this number. 87,000. Purdue is up 87,000 votes. He missed the avoiding a runoff by a fraction of 1%. Because in Georgia, you have to have 50%, which essentially means you need 50.1%, essentially. That one extra vote, 50% plus to avoid that runoff. And Purdue was unable to do that. That concerned me a little bit, but again, his margin over Ossoff, that goofball, Jon Ossoff, is 87,000 votes. That's roughly 30,000 more votes than the president of Georgia, Stacey Abrams, because that's what she thinks she is. Georgia doesn't have a president, but Stacey Abrams thinks she's the president. I'm being sarcastic there. You get that, right? That's 30,000 more votes than she lost the Georgia gubernatorial campaign 2 years ago by. It's a significant number. 87,000 votes is a lot of votes. So to answer your question, who wouldn't vote for that the next time? There's no presidential candidate on this ticket, Andy. You never know what's going to happen. And you've got this bizarre dynamic in play, if you will, of Republicans saying, make a statement against Brian Kemp and don't vote. You have Hollywood, let me just call them treasonous haters. Goofball Hollywood actors you've never heard of before, making Twitter videos and Periscope videos and YouTube videos and Facebook live streams, etc., sitting in their cars telling people with a straight face not to vote in this election. Why? Because I guess they're not confident in the Republican turnout, or I should say the Democrat turnout right now. I don't know. Maybe they're not confident in how many votes Fulton County can spit out this go around after hours. I don't know. But it's very strange here in the state of Georgia. The ads coming at us right now, Andy, are off the hook. To answer one of your questions, yeah, you know who you're going to vote for.
Funny.
If you don't know who you're going to vote for at this stage of the game, either vote Republican or get out of Georgia. Don't vote. We don't want you here. And if you're from Hollywood, stay there. We'll be back with Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason. Don't go away. Charles Primo, good. I'm glad that Di's in here. Appreciate that, man. I made the switch pretty quick today, and I don't expect to see that many people in here, but please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Believe me, we've got a lot going on at Armed American Radio, a lot of changes upcoming. This video will go up to Rumble, for example. We've got new stuff breaking for the first of the year. In fact, there's so much that I can't even tell you yet what it is because I don't yet have it all completed, but there's a lot of changes coming. Be new intro, all kinds of cool stuff for both shows, by the way. So share this stuff, guys. If you can get this stuff out on YouTube, do it. It appears that the video quality is far greater than Facebook. Of course, people can watch the live stream on Facebook and Twitter right now, too. So. Greg?
Yes?
I forgot the name of the prefecture in Japan. I wanted to give you that. But I did check my supply. I do have 5 pounds of that incredible beef left. 5 pounds.
Oh, wow.
It's $106 a pound. I think I got it for about 98 or something.
Wow,
and I'll never do that again. But I will tell you this. It's kind of like, let's make a bourbon comparison because you like bourbon. I'm going to tease it. I'm going to no. Let me hold this because I want to make the comparison. I think you'll appreciate it, and I know some viewers and listeners who are tuned in on various platforms here live will also appreciate the bourbon analogy. But I'll do that during the break because I want to tell you a story of what happened to me when I was in Louisville, Kentucky, at an NRA convention, and I was at
15 seconds.
I was at a Marriott, a roadside Marriott.
Seconds.
So there you go. We'll do that during the next break.
Yeah, we're gonna have to 5.
This upcoming segment of Armed American Radio is being sponsored by GunBroker.com, the world's largest online marketplace to buy and sell firearms, ammo, and related accessories. That's GunBroker.com. Welcome back to the show. GunBroker.com, the GunBroker.com studios here on the Car Arms Platinum microphone. All of this being presented to you over the airwaves, dozens of stations around the nation. Whatever time you're watching the program today, it is right now 21 minutes after the hour. Thanks for being here. And in the Armed American Radio Video Network studios, all of it being presented to you by X Insurance. The company is taking the firearms community, and by that I mean concealed carry permit holders, law enforcement officers, whether you happen to be an armed security guard, whether you just happen to love guns and have a permit and have nothing to do with your job and carry your gun infrequently, whether you don't have a permit, you're a gun owner and you have firearms in your home, in a safe, bridging gaps in your homeowner's coverage, for example, or you just want accident coverage. It's all good. Taking the firearms industry, retailers, distributors, wholesalers, manufacturers by storm. There's a reason for that because they're an AM Best rated A real insurance company that covers all aspects of your lives. All aspects of your lives. Make sure to check out xinsurance.com. Don't rely on third-party stuff and individuals who don't insure you but insure themselves and you under. Forget all that. You wouldn't do that with your real life. You wouldn't do that with your homes, your cars, your boats, your life, your health. Certainly don't do it with your freedom, please, it's free. Go to X Insurance and get a quote on a policy just like I did. I'm telling you, you will sleep better at night. I do. Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason, do you want to let me get some commentary as from what I was telling you before we went to the break? Go ahead. Tell us. I want to know what you think.
Well, you made a really great point. I mean, as you said, I mean, if you're not going to vote Republican, then get out of Georgia. I mean, right now it is so important for people to turn out. And you're right, voter turnout may be a little bit lower than what it was during the November election because now it's only a Senate seat instead of a presidential ticket as well. On the other hand, the entire country is looking at the state of Georgia because depending on how this vote goes is which party is going to have the majority in the entire nation. For the U.S. Senate, either Republicans are going to maintain it by 1 or 2 seats, depending on if 1 or 2 seats both go towards the Republican, or if Democrats win both of them, plus a potential Biden administration with Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker vote for the Senate, then Democrats have the majority there. But I want to take it a little step further, and I'm going to give you the tease. This is going to be the primary focus on my show today as well, focusing on those Georgia races. Is something that I've talked about for a very long time, is look at the difference in these votes. How big of a difference between these two candidates with the Republican and the Democrat, with David Perdue and Jon Ossoff, and look at the third-party voting there. 115,000 votes, 2.3% for the Libertarian. Now, I've been one, and this may upset a lot of your listeners, but I have never, ever, ever been an advocate of voting third-party because this is exactly why. The individual that wants to run based on the purest concept of voting third party as a libertarian candidate because they stand for everything that they want, and the Republican they don't like, the Democrat they don't like, has no chance of winning the election. They won 2% of the votes. I mean, to throw your vote away on 2% is cute, and you may feel better. At the same time, the entire nation now hangs in the balance based on which party is going to get the majority in the Senate based on these votes. So I'm really hoping to do a call to action for these libertarian third-party voters to make a decision on the party that they want. And looking at the parties, I mean, overall, if you're a libertarian, majoritively you like limited government, leave me alone, let me do my own thing, let me keep my firearms, let me lower my taxes, let me just make decisions for myself without a lot of regulation. Yeah. Overwhelmingly, about 80%, 90% of what the Republican agenda is. So if they cringe while they have to plug their nose and push that button for a Republican, then I strongly encourage them and I beg them to do so because the third-party voter that is at 2% in the state of Georgia is really going to be that deciding factor when it comes to both of those seats.
Yeah, let me make something clear here. I get the third-party vote. I mean, I understand spiritually at the core why someone would want to do that. I get that. You know, you got people out there that believe the two-party system is broken, this, that, and the other thing, and I'm not going to argue with a lot of their arguments there. There's a lot of truth to that, Andy. There's a lot of truth. The reason we have so much corruption in the country today is, and remember, but this is where people get lost in the sauce. Donald Trump was the third-party candidate. He just happened to run as an R. Donald Trump was the anti-Democrat. He was the, as Neil McCabe said, he was the anti-Republican, as Neil McCabe says, there's the party of Washington and there's the party of not Washington. Okay? And both the Democrats and the Republicans prior to Trump, pre-Trump, were the party of Washington. Ilhan Omar's husband's firm picked up, I don't know, what was it, a $500 million or $500,000? I don't even know anymore. More money than you have through these contracts. I mean, this is the party of Washington. It's why Ilhan Omar goes in broke, comes out loaded. It's why AOC goes in a unemployed, broke waitress, and she will come out of Washington a multimillionaire. That's the party of Washington. So I get that third-party vote. I do. I understand it. Here's the routine. Here's the legitimate deal. Get off your ass and fix your problem now. Here's why. Your third-party vote is going to destroy the nation today. You have got to get within the two-party system today now to save this country. Your vote thrown away, and not for Perdue or not for Loeffler, because, Andy, let's face it, most third-party voters are libertarians who tend to lean conservative like you and I do, with a couple little social whims in there, pot, drugs, all that kind of stuff. But they love their guns. They want to be left alone. You get the idea? Correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy.
No, you're right. I mean, there are those, the Green Party, the Socialist Party. I mean, they take, percentages away smallly, but the largest third parties in the nation are definitely the Libertarian, the
Right.
Constitution Party, that want the purest, limited stuff. And you're right. I mean, we can quabble. I heard someone say one time that I thought was brilliant, that we can quabble and debate on the social issues of gay marriage, abortion, and drugs when it comes to within the Republican Party platform and how we stand for limited government and freedom for the individual, but we won't have the opportunity to make those arguments and make those debates if we don't have a company or a country, because we were financially ruined because of high taxes, high regulation, and the oppressive federal government that's been centralized due to the Democrats controlling everything, because the libertarians and conservatives were beating each other up.
Yeah, and let's not forget the fact that if you think about all those other things you just mentioned, that's all lefty stuff. They're going to throw it and cram it right down your throat if you vote the wrong way. There isn't going to be a debate. They're going to tell you what it is. They're going to shove it down your throat. And if they think they might get beat in a Trump Supreme Court, they're just going to add more justices. Warnock would not walk away from that yesterday. He wouldn't walk away from it. This guy hates the cops. He lies about it. I'm the only one bringing people together. He lies about it. He hates the cops. He wants to defund the cops. He wouldn't respond. And he would not, at least from what I saw, Andy, would he decry any of those far liberal, wacko, the justices. Well, I'm not thinking about that right now. That tells you everything you need to know. You have got to get off your duffs if you're in the state of Georgia right now and help save this nation. Trump said it right. If we lose this election in the state of Georgia in the Senate, one of these two will be okay with. A little bit shorter and slimmer than I'd like to see. But if we lose it, the socialists and communists take over America. And believe me, they have an agenda. You aren't part of it. And nor are your guns. That's what all this has to do with guns. I have to remind you of that. I know you're smart enough to figure that out because this is Armed American Radio. You don't fit in their agenda. Back after this. All right, Greg.
Yes.
Here's the bourbon analogy compared to this beef. I was at the NRA convention a few years ago when it was in Louisville, and I was at a Marriott hotel on the side of the road, 3 miles away or something from the convention center in Louisville. It's just a roadside Marriott surrounded by a couple other roadside hotels. But they had an unusually extensive bourbon selection. I thought, maybe it's just because it's in Louisville, right? It's the bourbon capital of the world. When the manager came out and got to talking with him, and he insisted that this Marriott hotel had the largest bourbon selection of any bar in Louisville. And I said, oh, come on, man. You're a roadside Marriott. Give me a break. Guy continues to pull out all kinds of information from all of these bourbon publications, noting that this hotel, in fact, had the single most extensive bourbon collection in the city of Louisville. I said, where's your pappy? Guy walks away, turns around, comes back a couple seconds later and hands 2 bottles. There's 2 bottles, but he put one that was open, another one was unopened, of 23-year-old pappy. And a guy walked up behind me, and he says, aren't you Armed American Radio? I said, I am. He says, I want to buy you a glass of that. I said, don't. You don't have to. Don't. I don't want you to waste your money. It was $250 for the shot.
Wow.
And I said, don't waste your money. You don't have to do that. I'm not that concerned with it. He goes, let me tell you something, brother. He goes, I've been listening to you for years. I've changed how I live my life. I've changed my lifestyle. I've changed how I dress. I've changed how I vote, everything because of what I've listened to you say over the years. He says, believe me, it's cheap, and I'd love to do it for you. I said, look, if you're stupid enough to buy it, I'm stupid enough to drink it. Great glass of bourbon. I couldn't care less if I ever have it again. Kind of like this Kobe beef. This stuff is off the chain. It's the best I have ever had. There is no comparison, none whatsoever. But after this is gone, I'm going right back to USDA Prime from Costco.
Yep. It's nice to live in that realm for a little bit, but then it's like, yeah, I got to get back to reality.
Well, it's, even if I could, it's just not something that I would maybe for a special occasion, right?
Yeah.
But certainly not would I spend that on a regular basis because it is available. I just don't see the need. But boy, I'll tell you what, that's what makes it so good, is not having access to it 24/7. Like my buddy Rick Rock's crab cakes. Rick Rock passed away a few years ago. I won't even attempt his recipe, and I've got it because no one can make crab cakes like Rick can. I had him when he was on Earth. I'm happy. What's our time frame here?
15.
Back to Armed American Radio's Daily Defense with Mark Walters.
Indeed, welcome back inside the Armed American Radio Daily Defense Gunbroker.com studios on the Car Arms microphone. All of this being presented to you by that amazing company, X Insurance. X Insurance. Make sure to check them out at xinsurance.com. Patricia Huff from Gunbroker was on the show yesterday. She was wonderful. And I got to tell you, she's good people. We had a great time. I went back down to the gun shop I was at a couple days before, actually the day that we did the show on Sunday, and I didn't pull the trigger yet, pun intended, but I'll let you know if I do, because a couple of the guns that we talked about yesterday with Patricia are on my list, and my dealer has 2 of them hanging up. The third one he had 2 of yesterday, and both of them are gone, just to let you know. So I'll use that as the shameless plug for Gunbroker. If you find it, buy it. I didn't follow my own advice, and 2 of the guns that I took a buddy with that was going to buy were gone. So if you find what you're looking for, buy it. If you can't find it, Gunbroker has it, gunbroker.com. Make sure to check them out, okay? Andy, let's go ahead and close out the political aspect. Here's the deal. We know what's going on in Georgia. You got to vote, and you got to vote the right way, period. Socialism and communism have no place in the United States of America. I'll give you the last word on that, and then we'll move on. I want to take you to Newtown, by the way.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, get out and vote, as you mentioned, even if you have to plug your nose and don't like voting for the 2-party system, voting Republican, make sure to do it, because that's exactly what's on the line. As I've always advocated for since the beginning of my political career, is I've always tried to bring the libertarians back into the Republican Party and say, let's fix it together instead of running away because you've been kicked out. And rightfully so, the Republicans have been brutal to libertarians for a long time when it comes to Ron Paul, even Rand Paul, and now they're going after the conservatives, trying to run them out as well. That it's time for us to not run away from it, but to use that opportunity for the loud voice and the powerful numbers that the Republican Party has to change the party from within, to make it more favorable and more likely for Republicans and libertarians and conservatives to actually succeed within the party. So let's reform it, let's make it better, and let's do it for the people, so that way we can continue to have a majority, and that way we can actually stop the garbage that's going on with the Democrats right now.
You know, it's interesting. I was just kicking this around in my head as you were talking. But I'm old enough to remember back in the day when because third-party candidates are actually going backwards. You probably don't even know who the third-party candidates were on the ballot. Most of you don't this go around. But go back a few years. We all remember Ross Perot, don't we? Remember Ross Perot being up? Ross Perot took a large chunk of votes. We go back even remember Ralph Nader? Now, Andy, I don't know where you were when Ralph Nader was running around. Okay? And even Ross Perot, for that matter, right? Because you're younger than me.
I never really got to see them on the ballots, but I know of them. Yeah.
Well, these guys had bigger platforms than you see any third party have today. So this is why I would say get off the third party train. Here's the reality of the situation. Okay, You see this stuff and the duopoly. Come on, man. Come on. All right, nice, cool, big word. Sounds great to say. Very pseudo-intellectual. It means nothing. Here's why. This is a two-party system in this country. I don't care whether you like it or not. Facts are stubborn things. The truth is a harsh mistress. You've got two choices in this country if you want to make a difference. Because if you voted for anybody other than Donald Trump, you voted for Joe Biden. It's just the way it is. It's that simple. And Andy, I mean, again, last word, it's just a fact, isn't it?
It is a fact. Now, look, there are things that we can do about it as well. I mean, there's ideas being pushed out there right now with the ranked choice voting, to where you can vote for multiple people based on the rank of choice that you would like them to have. So that way, if one doesn't have a majority, then that bumps it back down, and they do all these calculations. And it's a very fascinating, interesting topic. So there are ways for us to start cleaning up the system and get rid of the so-called two-party system, or to actually start holding our parties accountable even better than what they are. But again, we need us to be involved within the parties at your local level, to be part of the county Republicans or county Democrats, to start working at the local level to represent your party and actually making those changes, or else they never will.
Yeah, and again, with all due respect, this is not your idea. I'm not saying this to you, but what I'm telling you, listener and viewer, is all nonsense. It's nonsense. It's a two-party system. It's going to be for generations to come. Will there be some change down the road? Possibly. Believe me, I think there's huge changes coming to this country, and I'll tell you why. Because I will not live as a socialist. I will not let a socialist rule me or rule over me, because I am not a socialist. Period. And I will never, ever, 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 ever adhere to that ideology. Not in this country. That's why I live in America. And trust me when I tell you, we'll fight. We'll fight to keep that from happening. But suffice to say, Andy, again, I say last word 3 times. Here's the third time. The bottom line is this is a two-party system, and while you might not like it, tough. The truth is a harsh mistress. Deal with it and vote the right way. And here's why. What does it have to do with your guns? Everything, because one of the two parties wants your guns. And guess what? It ain't the Republicans. Are there some wishy-washies on the R's? Yes, of course there are. But it is the Democrat Party platform as a platform that wants your guns. Grow up and get over it. Deal with it. That's the reality of the situation. Cut the pseudo-intellectual crap and deal with it. Newtown Board blocks proposed gun carrying restrictions. Did you see this, Andy, by any chance? You probably didn't.
No, I haven't seen that one.
This was from 2 days ago. I didn't cover this last night. I just didn't have time. Wanted to get into it in the daytime show. Newtown Board blocks proposed gun carrying restrictions. Newtown, Connecticut officials have blocked proposed bans on carrying firearms around town that were requested by gun control activists who said they were intimidated at protests by armed Second Amendment supporters. Now, let me make this very clear. Intimidated by an armed protest means I don't like guns, that person has a gun, so I'm offended. I don't care, nor do they. You're offended because I can't say what I can't say what I want. Andy, let me take a quick breather. I can't say what I want to say about that, about what that person is that's offended. But let's make no mistake about it. You have a right to keep and bear arms. And believe it or not, we're talking about Connecticut, the Constitution state, which has a ton of problems. There are a lot of listeners up there in Connecticut, by the way. I hear from a bunch of you. But, Andy, guess what? Did you know in Connecticut, as long as you have your license and as long as you have your long gun certificate, which I never needed when I bought my first shotgun in Connecticut, by the way, a 20 gauge. I didn't need a long gun certificate. I went into a gun shop and I bought the gun and I walked out with it. That's how simple it was. It's just like it is in free America, because back then it was free. But, Andy, you can openly carry in Connecticut, and people do. And it was Newtown, of course, where Sandy Hook occurred. Horrific shooting. The decision came after the board heard from gun control activists who said they were intimidated at protests by armed Second Amendment supporters. The debate showed how the gun control discussion remains active in Newtown. There were people who spoke from the Newtown Action Alliance, formed after the school shooting to prevent gun violence. They say it's disheartening to live in a community where the leaders are choosing not to take our recommendations seriously. As white extremism is spreading across the country, where they are using guns to intimidate people, particularly the Black Lives Matter movement. Andy, am I living in a different world? Because I see Black Lives Matter movement rioting and burning cities. I didn't see any Confederate flags down there. Did you? I mean, this is media-driven trash. Go for it.
Well, it is ironic, as you mentioned. I mean, we have them intimidated by individuals walking around with firearms, which, obviously the firearms have been around for a very long time, but they're not intimidated by the Black Lives Matter organizations that are burning down buildings and looting stores and beating people up in the streets. So, I mean, I guess it's their own prerogative on what triggers them, but while they say that they're intimidating the Black Lives Matter movement, that's a good thing when the Black Lives Matter movements more than not actually turn violent in the streets and end up chanting as they walk down the streets, trying to wake people up in the middle of the night while they try and actually loot the stores, while they burn down buildings and try and blow up cars, while they attack the police. We could go on and on and on and on.
What do we want?
But while someone is peacefully,
dead cops
peacefully walking down the street with a firearm, then all of a sudden that's really bad and that's triggering, and we feel very threatened in society.
And I'll tell you what's offensive is this, as white extremism is spreading across the country. White extremism.
20.
All right, this is probably a really good time to have to take a break, quite frankly. Not enough time for Angry Mark to come out of the box. But nonetheless, when we come back, we'll wrap this segment up because something very fascinating about it we didn't get a chance to get to, and we'll do that right when we come back. Don't go away.
Already into the fourth segment.
It's amazing. Fastest hour in radio, bro.
Zips right on by.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. Mark, in comments in YouTube, says you have zero right not to be offended. That's where I was going, Mark, but I couldn't say it in the way I wanted to say it. So thanks for getting it out there on YouTube. And by the way, if you are watching the video today from any other format, please go over to YouTube, subscribe to Mark Walters. We are making a ton of changes. In fact, it's a little bit overwhelming, but it's all good. Believe me, it's all good. Now, let me tell you something, Greg. 41 degrees, something like that crazy here today. It's cold. Hold on.
Ooh.
Let me see here. Let's see. Yeah, right now it's 37. It's going to be a low of 28 tonight. Probably feels like I would say 30 degrees out. It's windy. It's cold. It's overcast. The trees are pretty much now done, The lawn, the Bermuda's dormant, and the leaves are blown into the woods. It just kind of is the way it is. But that's a great fall day. It's a perfect fall day. A perfect crisp fall day to have one of the big giant patio heaters going. So I got to go get that out of storage today. Stick that on the patio or out on the porch, at least front porch. And a good day to have a fire outside. And a good day to be grilling Wagyu burgers. And having a cigar and maybe a Lead Slinger's whiskey. Perfect day for it.
I'm looking at sunshine and 63 degrees over here.
Yeah, that's... I don't mind a break every once in a while. I came up here from Florida, so I really don't mind the break. I mean, believe me, I miss the Florida weather all the time. But it is nice every once in a while to get a chilly, blustery fall day. You know what would make it perfect is if I looked out the studio window and saw Winnie the Pooh tumbling by. That doesn't get a comment?
I was trying to compare the Winnie the Pooh comment to what they're calling Xi Jinping. And I was thinking, you don't want a communist dictator just fluffing on by your window.
Here we go. What are we? Less than a minute away already from the final segment. Unreal.
Yep. 30.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Defender Coffee. When you drink Defender Coffee, you're making a donation to a gun rights organization of your choice that protects and defends your freedoms. Welcome back to the show. Defender Coffee in the mug here if you're watching the live stream. The big mug, the cool mug. You can get it over at defendercoffee.com, the mug. And if you use the promo code AAR, you get 15% off of everything on the site. Definitely do that. Defendercoffee.com. It's a perfect day for it here. It's blustery. Probably 32 degrees feels like. I think it's like 36 or 37 in the ATL right now, north of the ATL. It's overcast. The trees are done. The grass is dormant and yellow. But it's a great blustery day to sit outside by a fire pit and just hang out for a little while. I might do that after the show's over today. You never know. Mondays are long days for me because of Sundays. Leadslingerswhiskey.com. Great day for enjoying that, by the way, out there by that fire pit. Leadslingerswhiskey.com. Make sure to head over there, put your zip code in, find a distributor near you, and enjoy all those amazing products responsibly, please. MyPillow.com. I spoke to MyPillow earlier today, and they are absolutely, we do more at MyPillow, and I'm going to name two shows right now. The show and the show combined at Armed American Radio. It is remarkable. You all have stepped up to the plate in ways that, and I'm telling you, it's because you're supporting the right to keep and bear arms. They understand that. Mike gets that. God bless you. Please keep it up. Please. AAR is the promo code, mypillow.com, the radio listener specials. It is just incredible what he does for this program and how we return the favor. It is a quid pro quo. No doubt we scratch each other's backs, and that's how we fight the enemies of freedom. We stick together. And I would have, if you had asked me 4 years ago that this relationship with MyPillow would have been what it is today in the fight for our right to bear arms, I probably would have laughed at you. Not today. Not today. It is incredible. It's remarkable, and thank you. And with the holidays coming up, you get those pillows for $29 instead of $69. Use the promo code AAR, and it supports the right to keep and bear arms because that portion of that goes to keeping this radio program on the airwaves. It's very important, and we thank you very much. Give him his gifts, please. Don't stop now. Car Arms Microphone, gunbroker.com studios. Seriously? Go visit both of them because the only place you can find a car arm now, if you're not lucky enough to get it on the store shelf, is at Gunbroker. I can promise you that. And, of course, North American Arms and xinsurance.com. Get yourself real coverage. Lose that membership stuff and get yourself a real gun, okay? And I mean that. I mean that sincerely, to get real coverage for what you have in your real life because none of it matters if you don't have your freedom. And I don't know. I'm not playing games going through multiple people. I just want real insurance in my name, and that's what I have. You can do the same thing. Please go get a quote. It's simple. xinsurance.com. It's all free. Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason. Welcome back. Guess who?
Always good, my friend. Your millennial general reporting for duty.
Stand down. All right. At ease. At ease. All right. This is interesting. Most people don't know this. I'm going to quote something here on this piece about Newtown. Holly Sullivan, president of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League, I know Holly, she's great, said while gun control advocates may have felt intimidated by gun rights supporters carrying firearms, that is not the intent of gun owners. She has been among the counter-protesters outside the foundation's headquarters. Connecticut law allows the open carrying of handguns and long guns. Owners must have permits and long gun eligibility certificates. Long gun eligibility certificates. Really, Andy? You're eligible for your long gun certificate. Yay! Well, then you get people that get excited. Ooh, cool. I got my little card that says I can now go and get a background check for a gun. There's nothing cool about that. You should want to cut that thing up and throw it out. You don't need it. It's called an infringement. So's your long gun eligibility certificate. But I guess when you live under tyranny for so long and you get the little permit that says you're good, that's the way you feel. I understand that. However, you know who's based in Newtown? Andy, any idea?
Who's that?
The National Shooting Sports
no.
Foundation, the NSSF, is based in Newtown. The industry is based in Newtown. No one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the NSSF, responsible for putting on the SHOT Show, the largest firearms industry trade show in the world, is based in Newtown. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, a gun industry group that happens to be based in Newtown. They live there. They work there. Families with kids there. And the vote there with the NSSF there. But nobody ever talks about that, Andy. That's almost like a well-kept secret, and it shouldn't be. The National Shooting Sports Foundation is based in Newtown. You know, it's interesting. I used to live 50 miles northeast of Newtown, graduated high school 50 miles northeast of Newtown in Simsbury, Connecticut. When I lived there for about a year and a half when I was a kid. And had I lived 50 miles southwest when I had kids, my kids would have gone to that school. And the firearms industry itself, based there, stands up and says, don't do this. And the city of Newtown, the council, split 6-6. It just so happens, Andy, that Connecticut is one of those states that doesn't have preemption. But it is possible to get your permit in Connecticut. A lot of people have their permits in Connecticut. And they, like I said, you can openly carry there. Does any of that surprise you? Don't be afraid to say it does. A lot of people don't know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is surprising, but it's not surprising at the same time. It's surprising that no one really knows about it because they do, I think, need to make a bigger presence of that to be aware, because that is kind of the homegrown where everything kind of gets started. At the same time, it is the progressives that despise that. So what do? They do everything they can to demonize it as much as possible to pretend that it's not there, which is why they call them the white terrorists or the white radicals or the white extremists or whatever the hell they want to call us, because, you know, to all of them, if we own a firearm, if we are Christian and we cling to our guns and our Bibles, as they try to say, and if we believe in doing things ourselves as opposed to letting the government do it for us, then we are a radical and an extremist. The political spectrum has shifted so far that the basic constitutional principles that we believed in, with just being able to own a firearm, practice our faith the way we want to, and be left the hell alone for us to just to go to work and do our thing and do what's necessary to put bread and food on our table for our family, that is a radical extremist position to them, and they just can't comprehend it. So something that is the founding of that community in that area, with a firearms industry right there and the training of it and the understanding of firearms in that entire industry, they loathe it so much that they've shunned it and demonized it to where they wish they've created their false reality to pretend that it's not there.
I don't know how to add anything to that. I think I'm just going to let that stand on its own, and I'm going to give you an opportunity. You got 1 minute. Take it away. Where do you want to go? What's important? What are you talking about on your show today? And tell people where they can go listen, brother.
Well, I'm going to be starting up my show here in just a couple minutes as soon as I'm done with you, and we're going to be talking about the third-party voting down there in Georgia. We have some of the latest with the Dominion systems. Actually, we have a guest from formerly Albania who is a real estate agent in New York and understands the Dominion system.
30.
Everybody else. So we're going to be talking about all the investigations going on in 3 or 4 different states now on Dominion as we continue to cover some of the presidential election investigations. And again, I've been saying it, Mark, I'm still optimistic that Donald Trump's going to be able to pull this thing through. And it was really good to see him down in Georgia over the weekend advocating for everybody to turn out to vote and talking about his election. So it's good to see him out in front of people again.
I don't see the fat lady singing, and I don't hear anything coming out of her mouth yet. Perfect timing. Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason. Thank you, brother, for everything that you do. The Millennial General, you may stand down now because you've got to get ready to go to work here soon. So make sure to tune in to Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason and a regular contributor here to Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Man, he's got it going on. You'll hear Andy subbing for me in this chair whenever the need arises for me to have to be on the road or something similar. Andy Hoosier, thank you. KQAM, Wichita listeners, the big talker. We love you guys up there. You got a good one with Mr. Hoosier, no doubt about it. All right, we're going to get up and do it again tomorrow because we can and because they don't want us to. I have no idea who's going to be on the program tomorrow because I got a lot of people wanting to come on, so we'll just pick and choose our fights because we can. And in the meantime, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would ever do that. I'll see you there on the radio tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, YouTube fans, okay, get the word out that we're over here. From what I'm seeing, the audio quality, the video quality is far better than when it was over there at Schmuckerberg's place. All right, so spread the word. We're going to stay over here for a while. We're messing with some players. And we're going to make some decisions on the new website coming up soon. So thanks for playing along with us. But make sure you get everybody out there. Put it out on your social media. Get it to all your friends. Get it to all your family. Get it to everybody. That Armed American Radio. It's very simple. Just subscribe to Mark Walters over at YouTube. Mark Walters. You'll see my picture up there. There's only a few of us. One of them's a soccer player, dude. He don't look nothing like me. Yeah, he really is. He truly is. I think he is. I think he's a South African soccer player. I don't know. Apparently, he's pretty damn good. Anyway, make sure to visit us every day, 4 o'clock. YouTube from now on. Now, again, Facebook has the live stream up there, so I'm sure there were a bunch of people watching it on Facebook as well that didn't go over to YouTube, and that's cool because a lot of people, some of them don't know how to do all that stuff. But we're going to try to wean ourselves off of that. Greg, you want to jump in here with anything before I cut you off?
No, I'm gone.
You're done?
Yep.
Patricia Huff likes you. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
Well, all right, man. See you.
Later. All right. Yeah, I think the quality of the stuff was much better today. What'd you think, huh? I thought it was pretty good. At least it looks good. Says it's good. Stream health was excellent. Okay, suggestions, the audio stream. So we're going to play with these suggestions. We're going to fix this stuff for you, all right? All right, got a lot of work to do. Going to have the podcast up for you shortly. So enjoy the rest of your day. Cyclone never got the notice on Facebook, so came here instead once the show started. Yeah, that's part of the problem with Facebook, okay? Throttling the shit out of us over there. And they will more than likely do it here too. But we are not a gun industry deal. We're not selling anything. We're not a retailer. We're not a distributor, so we won't run into any real problems with them. We shouldn't anyway. All right, dudes and gals, enjoy the rest of your day. Be careful. I'll see you tomorrow on the radio program.